Hey there nation, welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and welcome to another edition of Warhammer Wednesday where we showcase weekly Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team battle reports every Wednesday during our Science Fiction Gaming Weeks. And this is another continuation of Pandora Fronteris, our map-based Kill Team campaign. And this is battle report number 7 of that campaign, and it is a recover intelligence scenario that is fought between my two friends, Sergeant Sigmarine as well as King Khalifa. Sergeant Sigmarine is playing the Indomitus Crusade and Adeptus Astartes Kill Team, while King Khalifa will be playing Bad Company of the Astra Militarum. Now, the Astra Militarum Kill Team is actually the neutral forces that are involved in this one, so because of that, they don't really gain any territories or lose any territories. There's basically the neutral forces that are controlling Pandora Fronteris for the most part. Now we're going to play some background music real quick. As the music is playing, we'll show you copies of both rosters as well as images of both these kill teams. If you're wondering about what's going on with the highlighting, the blue highlighting for the Indomitus Crusade, those are the fighters who will be participating in this scenario, while for the Astra Militarum will be the fighters who are highlighted in yellow. So that being said, let's get this battle report on a roll.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
Alright, so the scenario rules for this one is recover intelligence. Both the Adeptus Astartes and Astra Militarum are trying to secure 5 objectives. At the end of each battle round, both teams score 1 victory point for controlling each of the objectives closest to their deployment zone. They score 3 victory points for controlling the objective in the center of the table, and score 2 victory points for any other objectives they manage to control. And by the time that this game ends, whoever has the most victory points ends up winning. The battle length for this one is 4 turns, and after battle round number 4, which you roll 3d6 on a 3+, the game continues. If not, the game immediately ends. And for the rewards on this one, the Adeptus Astartes are trying to capture a monument in one of the hexes of a campaign map, while the Astra Militarum are trying to stop them from doing that. So with the scenario rules, let's go and talk about the battle plan real quick. So here's an overshot of the entirety of the battlefield. As you can see, my friends are playing on a Pandora Fronteris battle mat with a bunch of shanties built in there, as well as some barriers spread throughout. As you can see, we got our 5 objective markers located relatively in the center of the map as well. Now, as for the battle plan on this one, I'm not really necessarily playing in this game because I'm just taking pictures before our battle reports. It's my two friends are playing on this one. I did manage to talk to them by the end of the game about what their plans are. For my friend, Sergeant Sigmarine, he's playing Space Marines. His plan is just to keep on advancing forward as quickly as he can. He's going to try to secure that first objective marker because it's right in front of a wall. By putting one of his Space Marines behind that wall, he'd be able to, be able to use cover and at the same time also get 3 victory points every single turn on that one. At the same time, he plans on trying to assault from the right hand side by securing that top objective to the right hand side and then pushing down south into the right hand side as well. Meanwhile, my friend King Khalifa, his plan is to actually keep most of his guys just kind of stay put and far away. Most of his kill team are armed with special weapons or heavy weapons, so he plans on just trying to shoot the Space Marines off the table by doing overwatching fire for the most part. So with the battle plan over, let's go and talk about deployment real quick. Alright, so first off, start with Bad Company. In the top right hand corner in the front, that is Commander Cheapskate. He's a Bullgrin Bonehead. He's also the commander of this kill team as well. No, sorry, not the commander. He's also leader specialist. He's got a grenade gauntlet, as well as a frag bomb, as well as a brute shield. Right behind him is the Knight Rider. The Knight Rider is a special weapons gunner from the. He's also got a frag grenade as well as a flamer as well. Up in the back, middle, the left hand side, in the front row, that's Blitzkrieg Bob. He's another special weapons gunner. He's got a grenade launcher as well as a frag grenade. And right next to him on the left hand side, that is Moloko. That guy is a Tempestus Scion who's armed with a plasma gun as well. And right behind him, of course, is Busted 9 number 2. Busted 9 number 2 is another special weapons gunner. He's also armed with a multi-gun. Right next to him on the right hand side, that is Stubber. That's it's a Scion Gunner is what he is. He's on with a hotshot volley gun, and that pretty much makes a deployment for King Khalifa on this one. Now for the Indomitus Crusade in the back, that is Kato Apion. He is a Librarian in Phobos armor. He's also the commander for the Indomitus Crusade as well. He's got a bolt pistol, frag grenades, crack grenades. He's got a force sword as well as a camo cloak, and he's basically got the Psyker specialism as well. His psychic abilities are Psybolt, Iron Arm, as well as Forewarning, so that guy is pretty much kitted out to kill. Now right next to him, of course, are a couple of Dark Angel Space Marines. So starting on the left hand side, that guy's name is Aurelion is his name. He's a tactical marine sergeant. He's also got a plasma pistol. He's also got a frag grenade, crack grenade, as well as a chain sword. Right next to him on the right hand side, that character's name is Shoriel. Shoriel is a Dark Angel's tactical space marine, armed with a bolt gun. He's also got a bolt pistol. He's also got a frag as well as crack grenades as well. And the other space marine in the front there, that guy with the plasma gun, that guy's name is Zoriel Kalon. He's a tactical marine gunner. He's also a Dark Angels. He's also got a plasma gun, bolt pistol, frag grenades, as well as crack grenades. And finally up in the front, we have Torvald Greymane. He is a Reaver from the Space Wolves. He's got a heavy bolt pistol, frag and crack, and shot grenades. He's got a combat knife, a grappler launcher, as well as a grav chute. And that pretty much makes a deployment for this one. So with deployment over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 1, and both of my friends roll off for priority to see which of them will be going first. So that takes us to the top of turn number 1, and the Adeptus Astartes get to go first, and this photo is taken after the move phase. And as you guys can notice in this picture as well, we got lots and lots of tokens on the table. We decided to use the tokens just because, before we never used the tokens because it just seemed like an additional step in order to do whenever we did our, whenever we play our games of Kill Team. But after a while, we realized we were making mistakes, like guys who would advance forward were shooting, and people who were charging forward we thought would advance. We were making all these kind of mistakes with just really simple things. So we decided to put down the tokens on it. And plus at the same time helps you, the viewer, understand what's going on for the most part. So that's kind of nice as well. So as you can see up here on the front for the most part, pretty much what ends up happening is that my buddy Sergeant Sigmund pretty much kind of sticks with his plan for the most part. He advances forward with his three Dark Angels for the most part. Sends Zoriel as well as Relion as well as Shoriel up to the front for the most part. He also sends Zoriel, the guy with the plasma gun, he sends him over to the left hand side, that little shanty where the ejector's on top of the roof. Meanwhile, at the same time, he also just moves up his with the normal moon allows Torvald. Torvald goes up to secure that first ejector marker near the top of the screen. Meanwhile, Relion and Shoriel have actually taken care of that center ejector mark because they're like within an inch of it. So they control that center for the most part. Meanwhile, Kato, which is the commander, he actually advances behind the building there on the right-hand side and kind of shows up there in the upper right-hand corner for the most part. Now for the Astra Militarum, for the most part, they just kind of pretty much stay in their area. My friend advances both with Bussanine as well as with Moloko. Both those guys advance over to the left-hand side, dropping off the building onto the ground level. And exactly the same thing happens with Commander Cheapskate as well as with, with the Knight Rider as well. They both just kind of advance to the right-hand side and drop down as well. Meanwhile, Blitzkrieg Bob as well as, what's that character's name in the back? Stubber. They decide just basically to stand their ground, put ready markers on them so that way they can shoot first during the shooting phase. And that pretty much makes the move phase on this one. So here's a close-up of Zoriel. That guy moves over to the left-hand side, just moving normally to get behind that shanty, so that way he can make his way up to the roof, so you can secure objective marker number 1 on the left-hand side there. And here's a close-up of Relion as well as Shoriel. Both those guys advance forward in order to secure the center objective, while Torvald moved up to the right-hand side to secure objective number 2. He just moved up normally. And finally, here's a close-up of Kato Apion, who advanced over to the right-hand side, using that shanty as cover, at the same time getting within range to use his psychic abilities. Meanwhile, for the Astra Militarum, here's a close-up of Moloko as well as Bussanine number 2, who both advanced, dropping off the building of the shanty, heading towards that ejector marker on the left-hand side. And there's a close-up of Blitzkrieg Bob as well as with Stubbert. Both of them have ready markers, so that way they can start shooting in the first, shoot first during the shooting phase. And finally, there's a close of the Knight Rider as well as Commander Cheapskate, who advance over to the right-hand side, making their way directly to that ejector marker on the right-hand side. So with the move phase over with, you go directly to the second phase. And in the second phase, Cato Apion managed to get his sidebolt off directly onto Commander Cheapskate, putting 1 mortal wound on him. But luckily for him, though, he is a Bull Ogren Bonehead, so because he's got 2 more wounds left on his profile. And with the second phase over, we go directly to the shooting phase. During the shooting phase, King Khalifa decides to open fire with Commander Cheapskate. Commander Cheapskate decides to open fire with his grenade gauntlet, managed to put 1 wound directly onto Torvald. Now, as for Blitzkrieg Bob, as well as Stubber, they did open fire first, but unfortunately for them, though, either they missed their shots or their shots didn't wound at all. So it's pretty lackluster turn number 1 over with. We skipped the combat phase because no one's engaged in close combat. We skipped the morale phase because no one's taken any injuries yet, and that takes directly to the bottom of turn number 1. So here's an overhead shot of the entirety of the battlefield at the end of turn number 1. As you can see, the Astra Militarum have scored 4 victory points so far because they control the center objective and one of the objectives on the right hand side. Meanwhile, the Astra Militarum control no objectives whatsoever, and so they're far behind with 4-0 at this point. So with turn number 1 over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 2. My friends roll off for priority to see which of them will be going first. So that takes us directly to the top of turn number 2, and the Astra Militarum managed to get the initiative on this one. And once again, this photo is taken after the movement phase. For the most part, what ended up happening is that my buddy King Khalifa just kind of plays it kind of conservatively. The first thing he does move up both the Knight Rider as well as Commander Cheapskate up to those barriers there along the highway, kind of to the center of town. They just move up their normal wound allowance so that way they can put some overwatching fire and start putting some pressure up on the Space Marines. Meanwhile, King Khalifa also puts rating markers on Blitzkrieg Bob as well as Stubber. At the same time, he also advances both Bussanine as well as Moloko. Both those guys run over to that barrier on the left-hand side. At the same time, securing one of their objective markers there as well. Now, while that's occurring, of course, we go across the other table to my friend Sergeant Sigmarine. First thing he does, he charges forward with Torvald. Torvald goes directly across the battlefield, directly into Commander Cheapskate, and catches that guy into close combat as well. Meanwhile, he also decides to charge in Shoriel, which is his sergeant. That guy goes running directly into Bussanine, actually gets him in close combat as well. And I should mention both Bussanine as well as Commander Cheapskate did try to overwatch, but unfortunately they just failed their rolls, so no harm, no foul there. Meanwhile, while that's occurring at the same time, Zoriel, he actually climbs up to the top of the buildings of the shanty town, so that way he can secure that objective marker there. And then Cato Apion, he also just kind of hooks around the shanty to secure the second objective marker. So right now, the Space Marines control 3 objective markers, while the Astra Militarum only control 2. And that pretty much makes the move phase for this one. So here's a close-up of both Moloko as well as Bussanine moving up forward, and at the same time, Bussanine being charged by Shoriel. And here's a close-up of Stubber as well as Blitzkrieg Bob. Both of them have ready markers, that way they can shoot first during the shooting phase. And here's a close-up of both the Knight Rider as well as Torvald Greymane. Torvald Greymane just kind of charged directly into Commander Cheapskate, so he's engaged in close combat with him. And both those guys are carrying a wound, so it should be kind of an interesting fight. At the same time, you can see the Knight Rider's kind of chilling out there on the left-hand side. Here's a close-up of Zoriel, who's on the roof of the shantytown, getting ready to secure that objective. At the same time, you have Relion, who's using that wall to secure the center objective. He's also got a ready marker on him too, so that way he can shoot first for his shooting phase. And finally, there's a close-up Cato Apion, who's moving to secure the second objective marker on their side of the deployment zone. So with the move phase over with, we go directly to the second phase. And in the second phase, Cato Apion decides to launch another sidebolt directly at Blitzkrieg Bob. He does put a flesh wound on him, so that part was kind of cool, but unfortunately, though, that was all he was able to do. So Blitzkrieg Bob can still fight, he can still shoot, still a threat, and, still a threat for that most part. So the second phase over, to go directly to the shooting phase, and unfortunately for my buddy Sergeant Sigmarine, he takes his very first casualty of the battle report. What ends up happening is that both Blitzkrieg Bob as well as Stubber open fire with their grenade launcher and their hotshot volley gun directly into Zoriel. Now unfortunately for Blitzkrieg Bob, he missed his shot. He fired a crack grenade, went way off, wasn't able to hit him. However, Stubber opens up with that hotshot volley gun, managed to hit him 4 times and wound him 4 times. My friend Sergeant Sigmarine did try to roll for his armor saves. He failed 2 of them, so 2 of them got through, and he also went out of action on that one. So chalk first blood up for the Astra Militarum and the first out of action fighter for the Space Marines. Meanwhile, Relion, the Space Marine, opens fire with his bolt gun using rapid fire ability directly into the Knight Rider. Managed to hit him twice as well as wound him twice as well, and he managed to put that fighter out of action. So first, another loss for the Astra Militarum at this point. And lastly, Shoriel was able to put a flush wound on Buster 9, opened fire with his plasma pistol at point blank range. He did manage to hit and wound him, but unfortunately for him though, when it came to the injury test, he failed it. So because of that, Buster 9 still has a flush wound on him. He can still fight, can still shoot, very much a threat still. So with the shooting phase over with, we go directly to the combat phase. Needless to say, in the combat phase, Shori had no problem whatsoever putting the hurt on Buster 9, getting 3 attacks with that chain sword of his. He managed to put that guy out of action, and he follows through and goes directly into Moloko, catching that guy in close combat for the next turn. However, on the right hand side, Commander Cheapskate puts the hurting directly onto Dorvald, was able to put him out of action and permanently. At the same time though, Torvald did manage to put additional wound directly onto Commander Cheapskate, so that part was kind of cool. So with the fight phase over with, we go directly to the morale phase. And unfortunately for my buddy King Khalifa, he fails his leadership test, his nerve test actually, for Blitzkrieg Bob. So because of that, he is currently shaken and he won't be able to do anything for the next turn, which is kind of rough because the guy is packing a grenade launcher. So with the morale phase over with, that takes directly to the bottom of turn number 2. Alright, so that takes us directly to the bottom of turn number 2. As you can see on the overhead shot of the battlefield, things are not looking very good right now for the Astra Militarum. In the end, the Astra Militarum was able to secure 1 victory point because it controlled one of the objective markers. Meanwhile, the Space Marines, they jump up to 8 victory points as well because they control the center as well as one of their own as well. So right now, the Adeptus Astartes are just wiping the walls right now with the Astra Militarum. So with turn 2 over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 3, and both of my friends roll off for priority to see which of them will be going first. Alright, so that takes directly to the top of turn number 3, and the Astra Militarum managed to get the initiative on this one, so this part was actually pretty crazy. So this photo is taken after the movement phase. What ended up happening is that King Khalifa decides to charge Commander Cheapskate directly into Kaito Apion and engage that guy in close combat. Now, Kaito Apion does of course try to open fire with Overwatch ability, but unfortunately for him though, he failed. At the same time, Blitzkrieg Bob just kind of stays on the top of the roof because he is currently paralyzed with fear. Stubber, however, does move up his normal wound allowance directly to the edge of the shanty, so that way he has a good line of sight directly into Relion, who's hiding right behind the center of the battlefield. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side, Moloko does try to fall back a little bit to get out of range, but unfortunately, that did not work out because during the Space Marine phase, Shoriel, he just continues forward, charges directly into Moloko. Moloko, of course, tries to overwatch, but unfortunately, though, he misses his shot, so not much happens there. At the same time, that's pretty much about it for the movement phase for them because Relion is still behind the barrier there in the center. He's got a ready marker put on him so that way he can shoot first. And at the same time, Kaito Apion is engaged in close combat with Commander Cheapskate. Now, unfortunately, I did forget to take photos of the close-up, so I do apologize for that. So we go directly to the shooting phase. And during the shooting phase, Stubber opens up with his heavy stubber, with his hotshot volley gun. Managed to hit Relion 3 times, wound him twice. Relion fails both of his armor saves for those 2 wounds, and so because of that, when King Khalifa rolled for the injury, rolled out of action for both of them. So because of that, Relion is no more, and that center objective is no longer taken. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side of the battlefield, Shoriel once again puts another flesh wound directly onto Moloko. So my buddy Sergeant Superman has no problem hitting his opponents. He just and wounding them as well. He just has a hard time at just putting them down is all it is. So that guy's still available to fight during the combat phase. So with the shooting phase over, to go directly to the fight phase. So during the fight phase, Commander Cheapskate does manage to put a wound onto Kaito Apion. However, Kaito Apion, with that wonderful force sword of his, is able to chop down Commander Cheapskate pretty simply. So because of that, the leader of the Astra Militarum is currently out of action. So that part's kind of rough for my buddy King Khalifa. Meanwhile, here on the left-hand side, both of my friends decided to burn up 2 command points for Decisive Strike because my buddy King Khalifa was trying to get Moloko to fight first. Unfortunately, when they rolled off to see exactly who's going first, my buddy Sergeant Superman won the roll, so because he goes first, and needless to say, Shoriel with his 3 attacks on that chainsaw was able to chainsaw apart Moloko and managed to put that guy out of action as well. And at this point, my buddy King Khalifa decides to call the game, realizing he's not going to be able to win this one, not when he has 8 victory points versus his 1. So because of that, the Adeptus Astartes and the Indomitus Crusades managed to win this one. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to directly to the post game because this battle report is now officially over. So first of all, let's go and talk about Bad Company real quick. For the injuries, Commander Cheapskate, the Knight Rider, Busta 9-2, Moloko, all 4 of those guys went out of action, and all 4 of those guys made full recovery. So that part was kind of nice as well. Unfortunately, nobody advanced during this time period for this battle report, so everyone stays at exactly the same level that they started out with. For the resources, we skipped the resources because these guys are a neutral force. They don't have to worry about working on those resources for them. And at the same time, there's no recruitment because this is just a neutral force as well. And their current kill team force is at 202 points. Meanwhile, for the Indomitus Crusade, 4 members of the kill team were injured. That's Zoriel, Relion, Torvald, and all 3 of those guys made full recoveries, so no harm, no foul on that one. For advancements, none of the members of the kill team advanced during this time period, so they're still stuck at level 1. And for the resources, currently the Adeptus Astartes of the Indomitus Crusade have 0 intelligence, they have 3 material, they have now busted to 3 morale because they managed to take the monument that was located there and the hex they were securing, and have also increased their territory up to 5, so they're doing pretty good for themselves. My buddy Sergeant Sumri decides not to recruit anybody at this time, and his new kill team force is now at 230 points. So here's the current state of Pandora Fronteris at the almost near the end of turn number 3 as well. As you can see, the Indomitus Crusade managed to secure hex number 13 with that monument. So now they got 2 monuments now. They also have a barracks as well. And as you can see, pretty much the very last battle that we have for this round is with the Death Guard. We're trying to invade hex number 30 in order to secure that mission critical asset as well. So that's good for this one, you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is valuable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest, greatest hobby news related to our channel. That's good for this one, you guys. I'll catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.